We watch the world wake up from history every morning on this program. Great to have you with us all across the state of Michigan on radio and television. U2 coming to East Lansing in late June. Everybody's looking forward to that. And some of the concerts, though, the so-called Saint Bono, the lead singer for U2, is going to run into protesters because when U2 performs, for instance, at Glastonbury later this month, protesters are going to accuse U2 of avoiding taxes. There's members of an activist group called Art Uncut, and they're going to hoist a massive inflatable sign with the message that says, Bono, pay up, spelled out in lights during the Irish band's headline performance. They're also going to have bundles of oversized fake cash in front of the singer. Why are they protesting? U2's decision to move their multi-million-pound music and publishing business away from Ireland, thus allegedly avoiding taxes on record sales. And they say that U2's tax avoidance is going to be a very real impact on hospitals and schools in Ireland. And they wish that he would pay up. That's what they're saying about Bono. 35 minutes after the hour, Dr. Jack Kevorkian died on Friday, the Michigan-born pathologist. You'll remember he drove around the country in his Volkswagen van, helping people end their lives with a carbon monoxide suicide machine that he built from spare parts. He became a public figure in 1990 when he used the machine to inject lethal drugs into an Alzheimer's patient. His unorthodox methods bothered some people and at least drew attention to the idea of assisted suicide or euthanasia. It got him the nickname Dr. Death because he left the bodies of his assisted suicide patients at emergency rooms or motels. Ruth Holmes is nice enough to join us this morning. She was a jury consultant through 5 trials for Dr. Kevorkian and went into hiding with her family, as I understand it, before the trial. Good morning to you, Ruth. Thanks for being available.
Good morning, Mitt. Let me correct you. Jack Kevorkian did not drive around the country in his van looking for people.
Well, he didn't go looking for them, but he did go around the country assisting his patients.
Not in his van.
What were your immediate thoughts when you heard on Friday that he passed away?
I was extremely sad. I think this is an American icon. However you felt about him, he was a man who said, let us not be afraid, let us do the right thing. And so he basically stood up for what he believed in, and that was a person's right to make end-of-life decisions, and a decision between the doctor, the patient, and the family.
Certainly was dedicated enough. In fact, he spent time in jail, emerged from jail not that long ago, ran for Congress, and in fact did have an impact on the whole idea of assisted suicide, particularly in states like Oregon and Washington.
Yes, and I think Montana is now there. We lived overseas for 11 years, and I know that in the Netherlands, the Benelux, Germany, Switzerland, and France, I think, is soon to pass the legislation that this what he believed in was you could have physician assistance in your end-of-life issues.
When you were a jury consultant, what sort of jury member were you looking for him?
For his particular trial, we were looking for people who were very open-minded and would be fair. Now, for the first trials, of course, he was on trial for assisting in the suicide. So it was assisted suicide. In his last trial, and of course when he was representing himself, which was not a wonderful idea, but that was for first-degree murder because the prosecutor had dropped the assisted suicide charge. And then, in fact, he was not even allowed to put any witnesses on the stand. But we were looking for jurors who were going to just be fair, open-minded enough so that they could hear the arguments. And it worked for the first 4, but it did not work for the last one.
Did you speak with him at all in recent days, months?
I have for the last 4 years since he was out of prison. I would have lunch with him 2 or 3 times a week. And I saw him 10 days ago. I had lunch with him at the hospital just before I left for a conference in Rome on the 22nd of May. I did not see him when I returned on Thursday. And then, of course, he passed away on Friday morning.
What was his mood like?
Oh, Jack was his feisty self,
was he?
Talking about getting up onto the road again to get his book tour. He had a new book that was coming out. And basically, he was hoping also to start blogging. Your viewers can go to, or listeners can go to www.thekevorkianpapers.com. It was a new website that had just been put up, And you can listen to his music, you can look at his art. And I should say something about his art. His art, everybody declared is ghoulish. He never considered it art. He considered it political cartoons that will make you think. And so all of those things are up on that. And his greatest achievement in the last couple of years was the publication of a little book called Amendment 9. You know, Michael, what the Amendment 9 is in the Constitution?
Tell me.
You have the Bill of Rights, freedom of speech, freedom of religion. But Amendment 9 said if it's not listed, it belongs to the people. And so that would be assistance on end-of-life issues. It would be gay marriage. It would be anything that does not infringe upon another person or another person's property.
So
that's a free download if you go to www.amendment9.com. So he was just getting out there in terms of the Internet, and it would have been lovely if he had begun to blog, because I'm sure he would have had a lot of people to argue with.
you mentioned the political cartoons. Some people thought he was ghoulish. You knew him personally.
I do, because I knew the musician. He played the flute with my daughter for 2 years. He was an accomplished flute player. He played the organ, the piano, the keyboard. He was a composer, and that's why you can go onto this website, and under About, you just click Music, and you can click on any of his pieces. That's not him playing, but that's his music. He was a great admirer of all the classical musicians, especially Bach, and I'm very, very happy that the nurses typed in Bach in the last couple of hours of his life.
Was he in pain when he passed away?
Was he what?
In pain?
I can't hear the word.
Was he in pain?
No, he was not in pain. And he died very peacefully. And I've heard a lot of people saying that, he's a hypocrite. He should have taken his own life. Jack was not in pain. He had issues with his kidneys, and he had problems with, he had pneumonia. And so, had Jack had the opportunity, he would have stood up for what he believed in, but he was not in pain. So he died very peacefully.
I saw the video. They replayed it yesterday from 60 Minutes, where he assisted with the suicide right on camera, and they showed it. And I noticed that he was very clinical about it. I mean, he was very clear. He had the patient sign the documents twice, made sure everybody understood what was going on. In his mind, and in the minds of a lot of people, it was no different than administering an aspirin. You want help? He's going to give you help.
Exactly. He was exacting. He was a perfectionist, because actually I came into this whole thing because I'm a handwriting and document examiner, a forensic expert, and that's how I came in and was doing that with the jury profiles. And based on this man's handwriting, he was a brilliant man with great attention to details, and this is, of course, in his very high form level of handwriting. So he was a doctor with exacting precision, and he had all the dots crossed, I dots dotted, and the T's were crossed.
I'm very sorry that you lost your friend, Dr. Kevorkian, and we appreciate you taking the time to speak with us about him this morning. Ruth Holmes was a jury consultant. 5 trials for Dr. Jack Kevorkian, now the late Dr. Death.